Alright, so this is a skill that we all should be working on, is taking the forms and working on overlap. So when I draw figures, I want to make sure that I'm identifying where all the parts are and how they overlap with one another. Usually using boxes. Thank you for it. You're so fine. Alright, so let's look at these for a minute. They seem super basic. They don't really have much dimension to them. They're just kind of there. Alright. What we want to do with these figures is we want to add dimensionality to them. So we need to take these and make them more 3D. Well, you're probably like, what? How the hell do I do that? And the simplest way that I can say on how to do that is we need to start thinking about the 3D forms that they make. I'm going to use God damn it. Thanking for the happy down on the knees again. Alright, so sorry about that. Okay. We need to take these boxes. Alright. We have all these boxes and all these pretty things in perspective, right? That's not good perspective. It's something like this. Alright, we got all these boxes in perspective. Well, sometimes there's gonna be times, mostly all the time, where things tend to overlap. They're added on to whatever. You only see parts of certain things, whether it be boxes, triangles, anything really. Things that overlap. And this happens a lot in the human body. The human form. So, how do we apply this to your drawings? Don't worry about them disappearing. Alright. There we go. How do we apply this to your drawings? I'm going to start off with... this one, right here. Looking at the reference image that I provided, there is a lot of overlap. And how do we spot it? Well, it's just basically how things overlap. I can't make it any simpler. And look for where you can't see certain parts of the body. That's where they overlap. That's going to be the base for my body and what I'm trying to do. Right. Okay. So if I'm going to take this, I'm going to make sure that I know where my shoulder is. What direction my shoulders are tilted. So in this one, it's tilted this way. And then I'm going to look at the different forms that I draw in each one. So right here, you got the chest. You got the pelvis. You got the legs. And I don't think you would have noticed, but the foot would be visible from that side, just a tad. These are shoulders, arms, head. Head would be down more, just because that neck in the original pose, it's kind of covering up the direction of the shoulder. The shoulder comes out. Alright. Because this chest piece is in front of this shoulder blade, which is in front of this arm piece. So this face is in front of this arm, making your figure's arm, the character's arm is going to be behind the face in a way. Really following that line of action. The line of action shows the direction of the pose. Just drawing a mermaid because it's mermaid, you know. But this, the head is in front of the arm and the lower jaw is in front of the neck. Alright. Now, for our purposes, we also want to talk about these legs because they seem sort of stagnant and the line of action can really help here. If you find the pose, the gesture, and you're looking at the direction of the pelvis, it's easier to find this direction. It's gonna be actually gonna be this way, tilted inward like a bean. And then again, this arm is in front of and connected to the torso. And this other arm is behind, usually darker. You want to follow that line of action. It's going to be right around here. It's going to follow this leg. Gonna follow this leg. The line of action is really gonna help you find the direction and the flow, because if you are just building and building off of one thing without really knowing what direction you're going in, it's gonna look very stagnant and it's gonna look a bit more lifeless. But once you add that line of action, it's gonna feel a little more productive and a little more active. We don't want static poses. Like this. We don't want static poses like this. We want things that have a line that's easy to follow. And it's going to make these drawings feel more alive. You're probably over here thinking, well, I use line of action, but my poses still look weird. That's because some limbs are in perspective. You can still use line of action to find these areas, to find these poses and how they're set up in their bodies. But you need to apply overlapping in order to make them feel like they're going back into space. So let me find a pose here. Alright. This is my head. And this is my hand. Not a very good hand, but oh gosh, I'm just gonna use a mitt. I'm gonna use mitt because mitts. So when I'm looking at I'm looking at this one right here. Ta-da! When I'm looking at her, I'm looking for where the line of action is. Hold on. I inserted it not correctly. We want this as a new layer. There we go. Alright. So when I'm looking at this, I'm looking for 3 major things. Where it's overlapping. So it could be here at the underside of her torso because everything's going to pinch. It could be here because the hand is in front of the rest of the arm. Here. And here. And here. Because the knees are chubby. Got chubby knees. And at the hips. Because this crotch area pinches. And the neck. Under the neck, the arm. You just have to look to where to see where things pinch. Where you're missing or things start to become skewed, like in the legs. Alright. Little chicken legs. Right here's an overlap. Overlapping here. Chest goes in and back out again. The overlaps help. One method that I love to help me with overlaps is a method that people really don't use because it's really messy, but it helps me, so it might help you. I like to do coils. I like to make a bunch of coils. They help me identify the form in its entirety through little, just little scribbles that kind of coil around, and they create a form like a cylinder. As you can see through my sketch, I did a pretty good job freehanding that. I'm not going to say that it's completely accurate because I was just doing it for a demonstration of the concept that I use. But the concept works, and I use coils for perspective and for overlaps because it's easier to see the figure when I use coils. used to use these a lot when I was figuring out perspectives and drawing angles. Because they can make these angles easier. And I think this method of drawing figures is underrated, to say the least. Is it the method that you have to use? No. If you find another suitable way for yourself to draw in perspective or to draw foreshortening, then I have no problem with you using any method. As long as you teach me. So give it a try.